Welcome to KetoMealsAndRecipes.com. Today I'm making this particular video because I believe very strongly that even simple meals can be made very tasty if you just use a few key ingredients in the right way. And this classic tuna salad is one such recipe. Unfortunately, many people do not actually season well enough when making it, and consequently do not actually appreciate the full flavor of this extremely simple recipe. But as you watch my video, I'm sure you'll come to appreciate why this recipe is considered a classic when done correctly. It has a very satisfying and yet complex set of flavors. So today, I will show you how a few fresh, easily available ingredients can bring out the best flavor and complement the canned tuna. And in the latter part of this video, I will also provide a mini tutorial on which are the healthiest tuna species to use and why. So I hope that you'll watch all the way through. In this video, I will also show you a way to use my classic tuna salad to turn it into a full main dish. So please watch the entire video for the second bonus recipe. And if you're looking for more quick and easy recipes that are budget friendly, please check out the end links I've chosen for you. And do click on the suggested video for more meal planning ideas. Now, the macronutrient ratio for my classic tuna salad, not including a bun or other bread choice, is 2.4 to 1, with 3.4 grams of total carbs, 0.7 grams of fiber, resulting in 2.7 grams of net carbs. Here on the table are the ingredients I'm going to be using after I chopped, grated, and drained the tuna, and then weighed each of the ingredients. And I also want to mention that I did adapt this recipe a bit in order to make it more keto compliant. As I'm going through the video, I will explain these changes as I make the recipe. Please note that for this recipe, I am using light tuna in water rather than the solid white albacore tuna, and that will be explained in the mini tutorial. After I open the can and press the tuna lightly to drain all the water, I place the tuna meat into a medium-sized mixing bowl and use a fork to flake it, and then set this bowl aside for a moment. In a separate small mixing bowl, I combine the mayonnaise and the olive oil and just stir these two ingredients together until they're well combined. This is the first adaptation I made for this recipe, in which I use less mayonnaise and instead substitute with a bit of olive oil to get more volume and in order to add the healthier fats we get from olive oil. When my mayo and olive oil is thoroughly combined, I add this mixture to the bowl with the tuna and stir these together. Then all you have to do is add the rest of the ingredients to the bowl with the tuna. Salt, which you grind to a very fine powder, black pepper, grated garlic, shallots or red onion, also chopped into very small pieces, your parsley or cilantro, which you chopped very well, your celery, which you diced into tiny pieces, your whole grain Dijon mustard, or if you don't have whole grain, the smooth Dijon will work as well. The lemon juice. These are the ingredients. By the way, another adaptation I make to this classic recipe is I do not add pickles, but if you like them, chop them up and add them at this point. When all the ingredients are in the bowl, use your spatula to fold all the ingredients until they're well combined. You especially want to keep folding until the mayonnaise mixture is well distributed throughout the tuna. Then cover the bowl with cling wrap and let it rest in your refrigerator for about 30 minutes, because this resting time will allow all the flavors within the salad to develop and infuse into the tuna. By the way, tuna salad will keep well in your refrigerator for 3 to 4 days, but do store it in an airtight container. Once you've made this tuna salad and it has rested, there's many things you can do with it, such as make a sandwich, either by using some bread slices or a bun. Here's a selection of the buns and breads I've made that you might be interested in. Here's my hamburger bun, keto pita, flaxseed wrap, tortillas, but of all of them, my very most favorite to serve the classic tuna salad on has to be my keto walnut bread. The first time I put my tuna salad on this keto walnut bread, I was so surprised because I didn't appreciate how well the hearty walnut bread complemented the tuna salad. And after choosing one of the keto bread options I've just mentioned, place a large leaf of your favorite lettuce, spread about 110 grams of classic tuna on top. And there you are, this is all there is to making a classic tuna sandwich, which I hope you will enjoy. Now to make my bonus recipe, which is my bread-free keto, nutrient-dense version of tuna melt. But before starting, preheat your oven to 370 degrees Fahrenheit or 190 degrees Celsius. Next, cut your bell pepper, which is also called the capsicum, in half, and remove the white veiny parts and the seeds. Now, to a medium mixing bowl, add the prepared classic tuna salad you just finished making, and also toss in the grated mozzarella and Monterey Jack or cheese of your choice. In this version, I'm using two types of cheese. Here I'm using mozzarella and Monterey Jack with jalapenos. But you can use just mozzarella or other cheese of your choice for a different flavor profile. After grating the Monterey Jack, I reserve some of it for topping. Just one last suggestion. If you don't want to use Monterey Jack for a topping, another classic cheese used is sharp cheddar. Fold to combine. Divide the tuna melt mixture into 2 equal parts, and then stuff each of the 2 halves of the cleaned bell pepper or capsicum. And as you're stuffing your bell pepper, press gently into the bell peppers so that it fills all the crevices. Then place your tomato slice on top of the tuna mixture. Then sprinkle the reserved cheese on top of the tomato, and in my case I'm using the Monterey Jack with jalapenos. Then place your prepared stuffed bell pepper on a wire rack, not a solid surface if you can. You want the hot air to be able to go all the way around the bell pepper and for it not to be touching the bottom of the pan, because you want the hot air to surround the stuffed pepper and for the heat of the pan not to scorch the bottom. Then place the wire rack into the middle position of your oven and set the timer for 15 minutes. The last step is to crisp up the cheese topping. And to do this, move your rack to the top third position of your oven and raise the temperature to grill from the top at 400 degrees Fahrenheit or about 200 degrees Celsius. Grill for about 5 minutes or until the cheese starts to get a little bit golden. But please don't overbake the bell pepper because your bell pepper will get too soft. And the ideal texture you want for your bell pepper is al dente, still crispy but with a hint of sweetness and still able to act as a bowl for your tuna melt. However, you can use any of the buns or breads I suggested and make a classic tuna melt using a bread or a bun. I have to tell you, this is really, really good. And since making it with the bell pepper, I actually don't use a bun anymore because my husband and I prefer it this way. And now for the mini tutorial on tuna. You may have noticed that I used light tuna in this recipe. And here's the explanation why. First, there are 2 main types of easily available canned tuna: the solid white albacore tuna, or the light tuna that is usually either made of skipjack or yellowtail tuna, which is also called yellowfin tuna. The differences between these 2 kinds of tuna is more than just color of the canned fish. First, let me tell you about the solid white albacore tuna. When I'm shopping, the first thing that I notice is that the albacore tuna is usually much more expensive than the light tuna. But even that aside, you may wonder, but isn't the albacore tuna better for you? The answer, in my opinion, is a resounding no. It's actually less healthy for you than the light tuna. Here are the reasons. First, albacore tuna is a much larger, longer-lived tuna than skipjack or yellowtail, and is also higher up in the aquatic food chain. What that means is the albacore tuna eats lower down, smaller species of fish that are lower down in the food chain. In this way, the albacore tuna accumulates the toxins from all the fish it has fed on and they've had in their body. And since albacore tuna is a long-lived species, it has a longer period to accumulate the toxins such as mercury, which is a real concern for humans, as well as arsenic and other ocean pollutants in its body. Although many companies are now trying to be more ethical about how they catch the tuna, there are many unscrupulous providers who still use nets to fish. But this is an unrelated topic, not related to the purpose of this video. Now for the skipjack or yellowtail fin tuna, which are a much smaller species than the albacore tuna. These 2 species are also much further down the food chain because they're smaller and because they don't live as long. The shorter lifespan, this translates into them having less toxins such as mercury and arsenic in their body. I believe that the skipjack and yellowfin tuna are a much healthier choice. At this point, you may be wondering, if the tuna has contaminants in it, why eat it at all? In the articles I read, they mentioned that the skipjack and yellowfin tuna has been deemed to have such low quantities of mercury that we humans can eat it several times a week without any harmful effects. Also, tuna as well as wild-caught salmon are very high in omega-3 fatty acids, which is an important antioxidant and anti-inflammatory. Omega-3 in tuna and salmon, as well as many other kinds of smaller fish, can be high in DPH and EPA, which are very important for heart health. According to an article I read in a Consumer Report, an average of 1,750 milligrams of omega-3 is needed per week for best cardiovascular health. This doesn't mean that you eat it all in one go. It should actually be spread over several meals throughout the week. One more point. I prefer skipjack tuna in water because it has a much lighter taste, and the tuna packed in oil frequently has oils that we don't want. Thank you for reaching this point in the video. And if you found my video interesting and have not done so already, please consider subscribing, enable the bell to notify all. Please leave me a comment or a question, since the algorithm is driven by these actions. If you're not already familiar, the link for the printable recipe and other videos mentioned will be provided in the description below. Thank you very much for watching. Stay safe and healthy.